Hey, welcome back to the F160 Fundamentals of Application Design videos. We're now going to look at topic area 1.3.2. So we've looked at application types in 1.3.1. Now we're going to look at application categories. So these are ones you need to know for 1.3.2. So that is open, application software closed, shareware, freeware, and embedded. You need to know the characteristics of the purpose, what they are, and then what kind of devices might use them, the advantages and disadvantages, and how defined client requirements affect the selection of an appropriate application software category. So quite a lot. We'll try and stream through as best we can. So open software is open source, so it's free to use, edit, and distribute. They're often created by communities or groups that are built rapidly. So if you're thinking about the characteristics, it's free, there's community support, that kind of thing. So advantages and disadvantages. So they're highly customizable. The code is available. Therefore, you can modify them to meet your needs should you need to. Add unique or new functions beyond the standard ones you get with closed. It encourages innovation because developers can experiment, change things, improve things, maybe even not improve things, and develop some creative integrations. And there's strong community support. You might not be able to call up a helpline, but because lots of people have worked together, there's a lot of collaboration. However, open contributions, you might have somebody who's fantastic and somebody who's not so fantastic that contributes to the project. So there might be varying quality levels. There's potential security risks because people are going to know their code inside and out, so they might know where to attack it if you use it. And then there is no or limited official support. So you need to either help yourself or look on a forum or figure it out. So it might not quite be as timely as you want. Whereas with closed, you may be able to phone call somebody up and just get an answer there and then. So next is closed. So closed is proprietary, so it's owned by a company, distributed by a company for commercial use. Therefore, you pay for it. So generally, you're not going to be able to access the code and modify it. It's restricted. The whole point is to generate revenue. So there's licensing fees or subscription models. So thinking about the characteristics there, it's going to be professionally maintained. It's going to be tested. It should work on your target hardware and should have a nice thick sort of purpose. Like Windows, you sort of know what you're going to get with it. Advantages, there's going to be enhanced security because it should be controlled, tested. There shouldn't be as many vulnerabilities. There's going to be forums and hotlines you can ring to get some support. There's going to be a consistent quality, you'd think at least, because it's being developed by professional teams. However, you can't customize it. I think there's even talk of future versions of Windows where they're reducing sort of the things you can do manually, apparently anyway. It's going to cost you more than open source because it's not free. You might have to pay a monthly fee. It might just be a big upfront cost, and you depend on that vendor. I think it's next month, so at the minute it's the 3rd of September 2025. I think next month Windows 10 support is being removed in favour of Windows 11, so you are dependent on those bug fixes and things like that. So freeware, that is software that is free, but you're not going to get the code. So you think the difference between open source and freeware is it's still owned by somebody, it's still proprietary, but you're not going to be able to access the code. It's still a professional piece of software, but they give it out for free. And it might be just so they can get it out to people. Oh, that company's really good. Therefore, I might download more of their things. Or there might be some paid upgrades or additional features. So it costs very little. There's wide availability. There's community support. But the disadvantage is there's limited features potentially because you need to pay for the full version. There might not be any support unless you're paying for it. And sometimes if it's cheap freeware, it might be a bit risky with malware and things like that. We're talking like YouTube downloaders, freeware that you think is decent that actually isn't very good. Then we've got shareware, so that is software on like a free trial. So WinRAR is a good example. So you can fully use it for a certain amount of time and then you have to pay at the end. It's like an evaluation copy. So it's really good for getting initial feel of the software, or a quick bit of usage if you need to use it for a certain quick reason, but you are restricted for time. Except for WinRAR where you can just close it, apparently. So you can try before you buy. There's often premium features, regular updates, but it's a limited trial period. You have to pay for it, and not all shareware shares the same quality. So lastly, we've got embedded software. See, I've got a picture of a Tesla for an example. A really sort of key example is like a GPS or media system. So it's special software for special hardware, like a car, washing machine, microwave, whatever. Such as appliances, vehicles, or industrial systems. It's got a couple of functions. We usually say it's one function, but I think the Tesla one, for example, is going to have a few things, like the GPS is going to be a part of it and your media system. But, you know, it's a dedicated function. It's built for reliability, efficiency, and security. And unlike general purpose software, it's supposed to only be really do its one set sort of thing, working with that product. Advantages: it's designed for a specific task, so it's often stable and dependable. It's optimized to run on that limited hardware. It's usually quite good for security, but a lot of them, especially car ones, have the instant access, so the security is not going to be as good as traditional ones potentially. Then you've got limited flexibility. You can't do as much as you can on a general purpose computer or software. It's usually quite complex because you need to know the hardware and the software, which can make it more expensive to develop. And restricted user access, you don't really configure it other than just like preferences of like aircon or something potentially. So I've got some examples here. So we've got WinRAR, would be Shareware. Scout would be Freeware. You download it for free, but then to actually do like proper calls, you have to pay for credits and things, or at least you used to be able to. It's now been taken over by Teams. Microsoft Word, that's closed software. Linux operating system is open source. Tesla Autopilot would be embedded, and GIMP would be open source software. Now, when you're thinking about the client, so that's the last part of the specification we saw, you know, what would be more appropriate to use when? So clients that might need closed software for a specific feature they need, they might not have the budget for closed software, so they might look for freeware or shareware. Again, going to budget, we've got freeware and open source for a tight budget. But if they're worried about security or compliance, then maybe closed source would make more sense. They want to tailor things to functionality, we might think an open source. So there's no right or wrong answer. It purely depends on what does the client need. You might look at scalability as well. So if you know that, you know, Microsoft, for example, if you ask Microsoft to make some software for you as a company, if you've got the money for it, they will build anything you want. They have got massive cloud platforms. If you're essentially going to grow as a business, then you might want to go somewhere like that rather than worrying about having to get something made yourself. Support and maintenance, you might want a big company like Microsoft or whoever to rely on for technical support, whereas you might not get as much for open source. And then user experience and training, shareware, freeware, closed source stuff usually has a lot of documentation, user interfaces that are sort of innovative and easy to use, intuitive. Whereas open source, it might be made by somebody who's got a different idea of how an interface should look, so it might not be as what you expect. So you might need more training. So again, just like the previous video, we're going to look at this UFIT idea of the node drive application. So potential question, identifying one application software category and giving 3 disadvantages to closed software. So around roughly 4 marks there. They're just stated, so it should be like essentially 1 word for each mark. So pause the video, give it an answer in your notebook, and then we'll look at the answers in a moment. Okay, hopefully if you've written that down, you've unpaused it. So let's take a look at the answer. So we've gone for closed or shareware. Again, there's no right or wrong answer potentially. It could be open source, it could be freeware, but more than likely, you know, they're trying to get lots of people to use the app. Probably going to make some sort of profit from it with the sponsorships and things. I think freeware possibly would be more appropriate than shareware, thinking about it. Like give the app for free, but then you can upgrade your account and things. But certainly closed would be number 1 answer. What's 3 disadvantages to closed software? Lack of customization, dependent on the developer or the company, and the cost of the software. Again, these are questions I've made up. There are no right or wrong answers in terms of these really broad ones, unless it's really obvious. As I said, I've written down closed, but if I'm honest, I think freeware is probably the most appropriate because they're going to be using like data harvesting, things like that to find out what the users. maybe adverts, that kind of thing, as well as like paid upgrades and stuff. So freeware probably makes more sense, I think. But freeware still is the type of closed. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful at least. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one where we're going to look at 1.3.3, and I'll see you in the next one.